A PLP MP says no Baha Mar, no victory for the party. Meanwhile, the Long Island MP says Baha Mar proves that the Prime Minister is still delusional. What the PSA chairman thinks about officers caught on the wrong side of the law, plus a few Bahamian baseball players make it to the minor league. We've got those stories and more tonight. It's Majority Rule Day. I'm Kyle Joaquin, and MB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, as we get closer and closer to the next general election, Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller says Baha Mar could be the deciding factor whether the Progressive Liberal Party remains the government of the Bahamas. The stalled multi-billion-dollar project is currently in receivership, and government is hoping that a new buyer is found very soon. However, Miller told NB12 that maybe the government should have let the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing go through and not get involved, as things may have been much further along than they are now.
You know, maybe we should have just leave it alone and let it go through the courts in Delaware. At least the guy would have been able to starve off what has taken place. It is unfortunate what has taken place has left the whole thing empty.
It's been a nasty battle since the bankruptcy filing last June. We've seen resignations, layoffs, insult hurling on the part of the government and the developer, and now it appears as though the man behind Baha Mar, Sarkis Merlian, could be left out altogether once all is said and done. The Prime Minister has indicated that there are several big names in the international hotel arena interested in purchasing the resort. But as the search continues, Miller said all he wants to see is Bahamian contractors back at work and the resort complete.
Unemployment is a very serious situation in this country. Unless we get Baha Mar back on track, I need to be more sooner than later. The rhetoric got to stop. What is going to happen next week, who I met with. I don't care who you meet with. I want to see the contractors on the job and see Bahamians where they're working, earning a decent wage on a hotel that has gone bust.
Miller was straightforward with his thoughts about Baha Mar and the fate of the Christie administration.
Baha Mar is the most critical thing that the Christie government is facing at this time, and crime. Those two items go on and on. If Baha Mar does not open, the cabinet and the PLP just will go home. They will not see the day of light if Baha Mar doesn't open more sooner than later. They could forget it, just walk away and go home. All of us.
Miller said that goes for him as well. And while he didn't quite say he was disappointed in the PLP's performance since taking office in 2012, he did say that things could have been much better. The outspoken MP has also taken issue with the treatment of foreign investors by Bahamians. He said despite being a part of the governing party, the government always seems to roll out the red carpet for foreign businessmen, but make things harder for locals.
Mario's Bowling and Family Entertainment Parlors, we submitted an application to enable us to start Mario's Mega Bingo. We could employ 25 Bahamians in that industry, people from the hotel industry. You meet with the minister and those, you meet with the PS, and you get no response whatsoever. We're going to do it, we're going to deal with it. However, you let a foreigner come in here with his little suitcase with nothing in it except paper, and he's entertained and generally gets not only permission, but then we brag about what he's doing to advance people of the Bahamas. They're the things that bothers me. That we are not getting the same fair shake as the foreign investor.
He said it's disappointing that he, as a Bahamian businessman, must go through this in his own country.
I've been waiting now, almost 2 years. As a Bahamian, and as a PLP, if you want to call it that. And I can't get nowhere, maybe because I supported Brave Davis. That's the only conclusion I could come to.
Well, days after Prime Minister Perry Christie said that 2016 would prove that he is not delusional, Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner said, the fact that Baha Mar is still at a standstill just shows that the Christie administration is more delusional than many Bahamians think. Simone Davis reports.
Responding to an international headline that labeled the stalled Cable Beach project the ghost at Baha Mar, Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner said the mega resort is nothing more than a result of poor governance. She asserted that she doesn't buy Christie's claim that he has been in close contact with all stakeholders in the Baha Mar project in an attempt to get it completed.
In terms of Baha Mar, I think Christie also went on to say that he feels he's been in contact with all stakeholders. I ask the question, if he has been in contact with all stakeholders, what is the result? The manifestation of the past 3.5 years of this government has brought nothing but poor governance.
Last week, the Prime Minister told reporters that he is not delusional about the task ahead for the country. Butler Turner suggested that 2016 would only prove that Christie is more delusional than it seems.
If Mr. Christie's optimism that he displayed last year in terms of the way forward for Baha Mar, the way forward for crime eradication, the way forward for rising unemployment figures, the way forward for the crisis that this Bahamas finds itself in, if I am to use that as a barometer, I will definitely say that the Prime Minister is even more delusional than he and his colleagues imagine that he is.
The Long Island MP said she doubts that the Christie administration could pull off any success with Baha Mar within the next 6 months. She also mentioned that just like Baha Mar, the government is taking the same flawed approach with the nation's crime plan.
I do not believe that in the next 6 months to 1 year that there's going to be any type of turnaround that's going to be able to bring anything tangible in terms of getting bodies back to work, in terms of another crime plan.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
In other news, police are seeking the public's assistance in locating the suspects responsible for a shooting incident that has left one man in hospital. According to police reports, shortly before 7 last night, the victim was standing in front of a home located on Ida Street when the occupants of a Honda vehicle approached and shot him before speeding off. The victim was rushed to hospital where he is said to be in stable condition. Investigations are ongoing. Well, several members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force have been allegedly caught on the wrong side of the law in recent weeks, whether it was accusations of drug possession, drug smuggling, assault, armed robbery, or rape. The law enforcement body has no doubt been rocked by scandal toward the end of last year into the beginning of this year, but just as quickly as many of them were allegedly caught in the act, Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade relieved them of duty. So, just what needs to be done to reduce the number of rogue officers on the streets? Police Staff Association Chairman Dwight Smith says there are several ways the problem can be fixed, one of which may be to adjust the recruiting age for officers, which now stands at 18 years old.
Maybe we may need to look at that, if that's the case. At least, you know, with that, we give the opportunity for persons to actually really go to if they want to go to college and stuff like that, because you'll have a lot of persons now who are in the organization at a young age, just join the organization and then already applying for study leave to go off and finish their education. Maybe if we change up the age, we give them an opportunity, but then we have to look at what we have out there. Do we have sufficient person that we can go into that pod and grab out to actually encouraged to join the various organizations.
Then again, Smith said with the starting salary of police officers, not many grown, mature men and women would want that kind of pay. He compared it to a nightclub, saying you attract the type of crowd you set your price at.
And when I came into the force, I was making $1,000, then it cut down to less than $1,000. And that's the challenge that we have, because I said I made in the force 26. So back then I was making $1,000, and you can tell me 26 years later, we still got people making $1,500 a month. We didn't do no increase in there.
Smith said another issue is that police officers are no longer paid for their degrees. There is one starting salary for everyone, regardless of their qualifications. The cutoff age, that is, the oldest a person is allowed to join the force, is 30. He said if more settled individuals are to be attracted to the force, they should be allowed to get a more comfortable pay.
If I bring a man in 30, the chances are he's going to already have an established family. The chances are he's going to already have a mortgage. But why in the world I would want to start him off at $18,000 a year? That's a recipe for disaster. In other words, if he don't struggle to it, and I don't believe law enforcement ought to be struggling to live just talking about getting a corned beef and some rice. I don't think they ought to be struggling for that.
And as for the rogue officers, Smith said the community plays an important part as well when it comes to giving a recommendation.
Our vetting system, I can't speak too much on that, but certainly I think we can only vet what you say. I mean, I can only take the word what you say. I didn't grow up with you. But if everyone around the neighborhood say you're the best boy on the block and lying for you, you know, then that's what we get. But I think that we are doing a good job in identifying those individuals, and actually some slip